If you're a recruitment firm that works with local businesses, or you're someone that wants to target local businesses that are not on LinkedIn, today I'm going to show you how you can cover your entire total addressable market, how you can find these businesses, find the right decision makers to contact, check for any buying signals that indicate that they are hiring in this case. You can reach out to them with personalized messages, and all of it is automated inside of Clay using Serper.dev and n8n. The very simple reason why this works is because you are targeting businesses that are not on LinkedIn, and hence they are not getting contacted as much. And it's also extremely cheap. You can scrape 8,800 businesses for just $1 without having any duplicates. And I'm going to show you in just a bit how. You can just hit a button and go crazy because, again, all of it is automated. We're going to have AI go visit every single one of those 1,000 websites or 10,000 websites that you import into Clay, check if they qualify, search every single corner of the internet for any recruitment signals, and find key decision makers, whether it's a small company where HQ handles all the hiring, or a bigger one where you have the local hiring managers, and also find any emails on their website, all for pennies on the dollar. Also, just a side note, this is not a cookie cutter video. I'm going to show you the process from top to bottom and explain every single detail so you can adapt this local list building workflow for your business. So, before we dive headfirst into the Clay workflow itself, we need to first understand how scraping Google Maps actually works and why we use this method and why it's actually the best one. So essentially, what we're doing is we have the queries as input, and every single query we put into Google Maps. As you can see, we put doctors in Florida, a bunch of results come up, and there's multiple pages with these results, and every single one of these that we click on has a lot of details: their address, their phone number, and possibly their emails. Right, and this is information we need to then find the right decision makers, find the right hiring signals, buying signals, and then contact them. Now, there are two parts of these queries. As you can see here, there is the keyword, and then there is the location. Now, if you were doing this with a scraper like instant data scraper, which is a much more manual task, here are some of the problems that you would run into. Number one, with the location, right? So let's say you were targeting doctors in the entirety of the United States. You would be sitting here all day long, perhaps even for a week, just putting in every single location and scraping every single business that's on there for that particular location, right? There's multiple locations, cannot be done manually, not sustainable, not scalable. You get the point. The second part is the keyword, right, which is actually the most important part. Now, here's the thing. We were running this workflow for a recruitment agency in the United States, and they were targeting stone fabricators and distributors. Now, there are very few businesses that have actually labeled themselves as stone fabricators or distributors on Google Maps. Actually, there are none. Because if you don't know this already, what happens when you create a Google My Business page for your business is you have to identify yourself as one of 4,000 plus categories, right? One of those categories, you have to label yourself as that. And using that is actually the keyword that we use to scrape these businesses, right? Now, this is what we do to actually reduce a lot of the noise that we get via Google Maps scraping. Because if I was to just put in stone fabricator in the United States, I would get a lot of businesses, or let's just say in a particular city, I would get a good amount of businesses, but we will not be able to target them as accurately as we would be able to via this method, right? So what we do here, we come onto this website. This website has every single Google My Business category. Right now there are about 4,000, a little more than 4,000, right? You hit Control F and you go to town, right? Now, obviously, I searched stone fabricator first, and there were no results. So I started with stone, and there's crushed stone supplier, stone carving, stone cutting. You get the point. The best way to do this is just take this URL, put it into Chat GPT, and see what it comes up with. I did exactly that. I explained the type of business that I'm looking for and all the categories on there, and I asked it to find the keywords that would help me target these businesses. And well, that's what I ended up with. And these categories, as you can see here, countertop store, granite supplier, marble supplier, these best fit the kind of businesses that I am trying to target. So that's it. These are our keywords. So now we have both the parts of the query that we actually need, is the keyword and the location. The reason we use Serper.dev is, number one, it's extremely easy to set up. Number two, it's extremely cheap as well. $1 for every 8,800 businesses scraped. And number three, it actually scrapes every single page and gets us all the results. But there is one problem though. If you're using Serper.dev within Clay using HTTP API, you're only limited to about 20 results. So for every single query that you put in, there's gonna be at least like 100 or 200 or definitely way more than 20 results, right? And you're not able to get all of those if you use if you just use serper.dev within Clay using HTTP API. So what we do instead is we use an automation built inside of n8n that helps us with pagination. All you need to know about pagination is that instead of running it over and over again so that we get all of the results, which is what we used to do previously, we go past that and we just, you know, as you can see here, we put in the query, we put it through our scraper. Again, this is also in Clay via HTTP API, but instead of serper.dev, it's n8n, right? And we have all of these businesses which we're actually writing to another table. So every single record that you see created here, these are all the businesses or individual businesses that was scraped via this query inside of Google Maps. So now that we know how the scraper actually works and why we use n8n for the pagination and how the queries are made up and everything else, let's now dive into the workbook. So the very first table in this workbook consists of a list that we imported, a CSV file that we imported, which has information on all the counties in the United States, which we got from this website right here. Now, the great thing about Serper.dev is that you can get extremely granular with the location. There's these things called zoom levels, which allow you to determine how much of an area do you want to scrape, like in what particular area do you want to scrape the businesses. And I'll make a separate video on how to use that later. But for now, all we're doing is, all we need for the query is the county, right? We're not going city wise because there's too many cities to be importing, and it's just better with the counties, and you can download it from here. You don't need to pay or anything. 3144, good enough for us. Let's get going. Now, the very first thing that we actually do is, for every single county that exists, we want to pair all of those up with the keywords that we just talked about. Those 5 to 7 keywords that are perfect for targeting your ideal clients on Google Maps, right? So we take that, we put it into GPT-4o enrichment, and we just instructed to create a JSON array of this particular comma separated values. I will leave a link to this create table down in the description, so don't worry about that. You can just copy paste this entire thing. What we do with this is we write all of this to another table. For Los Angeles, there are 7 columns, my bad, 7 rows with each of the individual keywords, and that's why we create a JSON array for it. As you can see, these are all the businesses that were on Google Maps and qualify granite supplier in Los Angeles, California. And then again, we write to another table. So all of this data for every single business that was scraped gets imported, my bad, written to the other table, the company's table. And that's what this is here. The first thing that we do is we normalize the domain. And remember, I mentioned before that we enable auto deduping. We put that on for this column, which is the normalized URL, because a lot of the times what happens is that since we are scraping multiple counties and a lot of the businesses that you want to be targeting have different locations, this is all going to be working together, and every single business that gets imported here, for majority of them, the websites are going to be in their raw form, something like www.businessname.com/Houston or slash Los Angeles or whatever. Me point being, we do this so that a company does not get qualified twice or goes through the enrichments twice. So every single company that's on here, or rather every single website that's on here, is going to be there only once. And which is why we put the auto deduping on the normalized URL instead of the website, because the website is going to be mostly different because of the locations and everything that I just explained. Then we have a formula right here, and all it does is we're trying to exclude every single website that includes like LinkedIn, Facebook, Shopify, Wix, Better Business Bureau, or has like .gov or .edu, because and these are not businesses to begin with, so they get, if this is tech, they get excluded right away. As you can see here, run condition not met. And another thing which is important to mention is you can run a really simple agent prompt right after this, because every single missing input that we get, meaning the website is just not on the Google Maps, on the Google My Business page, hence it's not showing here. Agent will actually go search the internet, and if there is a website present, it will extract that and just really quickly fill this up. The next thing that we do is we actually check if they are qualified or not. Now, I've created another view here actually for every qualified company that exists. So from here on out in this workflow, every single company that is qualified, they're going to be going through the enrichments. Everything else just discarded right away. I mean, it's there, but we don't use it. So yeah, this will be again according to your specific use case. Let me just show you the prompt and explain what kind of businesses you actually want to target and go into as much detail as you can. We use GPT Forum Mini for this because it doesn't consume a lot of credits and it gets the job done right. You can use Anthropic as well for this. It actually visits the website. Agent visits the website and returns yes or no, as simple as that, along with the reasoning. So, Galaxy Stone specializes in granite slabs, marble, quartz, and other natural stones. Let's just quickly check it out. Yep, looks good. This does fit our ideal client profile. Great, good job, Clegent. Next comes the enrichments for the buying signals. Now, again, this can be anything you want, but for our use case, we only wanted to check if they have open jobs listed on their website, as in like their career pages, or on Indeed, or LinkedIn, Glassdoor, ZipRecruiter, or just anywhere on the internet. If they had any open jobs at the moment, then we would reach out to them. We also would if they don't have open jobs, but point being, this was the only buying signal that we were looking for. It's your job totally to mess around with the prompts and figure out what works best for you. This is just after testing for like 50, after testing through like 50 different prompts, we stuck with this one because this got us all the results and just absolutely eliminated the noise. One thing you can do here is that you can ask Clayton to just generate your prompt, and you can go with that, and it's pretty accurate, I have to say. But again, always make sure your prompts are top notch and just test a bunch, test with different models, figure out what works best for you. So what we're left with is the open jobs and the source which they got it from, and this is what it sort of looks like. Yeah, sales representative, source is Indeed. We have the location, we have the description of the job. As you can see, these enrichments don't cost a lot, like 0.00402. That's so cheap. As you can see here, there's 3,096 companies here, and we've run all of these enrichments for every single one of them, and it hardly costed us anything compared to the results we're getting right now for this particular recruitment agency. We import the results in within this table itself because we want to be writing it to the other table, to the find people table, right? So source Indeed, title one, title two, title three, and we instructed the prompt to only get us the top three most relevant job titles and not more than that. So yeah, as always, we have the reasoning, and this is just the other data from Google Maps itself. We don't use these, but just another use case. We also ran this campaign a while back for an SEO agency that we used to work with, and using the positions that they were in, every single company that was not in the top 10, we would reach out to them saying that, you're not in the top 10, and we would talk about some pain point, this or that, and we tested a bunch with that. That was great too. Booked a bunch of calls. Works great if you have the right data. Just about any campaign is going to work great. Another thing to keep in mind is since all of this is automated, all of these columns really have conditions. So like they will not actually run if the condition is not fulfilled, because it's sort of running on its own, right? We are not here clicking a bunch of buttons just like those in the beginning. So yeah, you can copy this table into your workflow and try it out for yourself. Now, once we're done with qualifying all the companies, every single company that qualifies is going to be imported into the find people table, so we can actually find the right decision makers that we want to be targeting. Now, this can be anything for your use case or like the specific job titles, but for ours, obviously, we want to be targeting hiring managers, anybody that has anything to do with hiring. So there are 5 prompts that we are running to find the emails, and I'm going to take you through every single one of them. For the job titles, we have a bunch of them, and this is going to be depending on your use case, but this is every single person that, just best case scenario, these are the people who we absolutely want to be talking with. We give it extensive details as to what it's supposed to do, what it's not supposed to do, how it should, where it should check for the people. It should confirm the location, and if they are from the United States indeed, or whatever location is provided. Because again, yeah, the first very first enrichment that we run to find people, the location is going to be whatever it is, the county that we put in as the input. So there again, this is where, if it's a smaller company, it's a bigger company, does not matter. The first thing it's always going to do is the location that was scraped. It's going to find people from that particular location, like for that particular branch, right? That's the first thing we're going to be doing. And yeah, we tell it where to check for those people, and all the rules, what to extract, how to extract, and the outputs, everything. And yeah, we ask it to match the job titles, and only if there is a match is the job title actually getting exported, right? The people are actually getting exported, which is why it's really important that you take extensive care in putting together a list of job titles that you want to be targeting, every single one that you can think of. HR business partner, this is their LinkedIn profile. The location verification, because again, we ask it to make sure that the location is the one that we have as input. This is how we know that we're targeting the right people, right? And again, very cheap. Now, this is what most of the prompts look like, and I'm going to explain what's going on here, why there are so many enrichments. So every time one of these enrichments actually finds somebody, it writes to another table, right? The final table where we find their emails and stuff, because obviously the companies are qualified, so are the people, as I just showed you. And we put in a condition here, because again, all of this is automated. So if this exists, only then will this run. So as you can see, we didn't find any people here, so this didn't run, and the people were not written like to another table. And this is how it sort of is paired up. For every enrichment that we use to find people, there's another right to other table that's there. Yeah. And what we're doing here is, first we find the hiring people within that particular location for that company. If there are no results here, only then will the next one actually run. This is another like the find hiring team enrichment. And what we're doing here, the only thing that is different here in the prompt is the target location is not the particular location that was there as input, it's just the United States. Because if the hiring manager, or let's just say HR business partner, is not particularly in the Cook County, they're still in the United States and there's still a viable person to contact. So to make sure that we don't miss out on any HR roles at all, that's why we run it. So they were not able to find any of these HR roles in the particular county that was here as input, but they did find some people in the United States that were not in that particular county. So like, you get the point, right? Head of HR, again, location match, all of this. Again, I would recommend don't like not messing with the prompt, because we've tested this so many times, and this is just the best one that we came up with. Gets us exactly what we want and doesn't cost a lot. So yeah, we have our results, create the records. And the third enrichment that runs is we find the key decision makers that also have a stake in hiring. So again, owner, founder, CEO, uh, executive director, partner, principal, branch manager, regional manager. Basically, that's the same thing that's happening here. Now, the find company email is actually the most interesting one because majority of the calls that we booked within the first week of launching these campaigns were contacts were like that we found on their website, right? Because these businesses were not being contacted as much, if at all, by everybody else, right? Because no one actually takes the time to go to the website, find an email, and then contact them, right? And with Clay, with automation, we're able to do it all. And as you're going to see in the next table, we actually find all the emails for all of these people that we find, all of these records that are created. And we then validate those emails, right? Now we do the validation for the company emails here because alongside like calls getting booked, we also noticed that a lot of the emails that were found on the website were just not the right ones to send to because they were either broken or they didn't exist or they were simply just invalid emails that we should not be contacting. You should not be contacting because it damages your domain reputation, your bounce rates increase, and your cold email infrastructure just goes to shit. Now, here's the final table. First thing that we do is we normalize the company names because we want to use them in the copy. And again, you can use GPT-4 or Mini for this. Doesn't cost a lot of credits, but Clay has this native enrichment, and we seem to be like it seems to be working just fine for us. So yeah, we import all the details from the find people table. Via HTTP API, we use trykit.ai, which we've noticed to be one of the best email finders and verifiers on the market right now. Again, also one of the cheapest. That's the first one we run it through. If we don't find an email, we take it through an email waterfall. Now, you can find this within Clay, but some of these we have an account for and some of these we don't. So this way we end up ensuring that we don't waste our Clay credits, but to maximize the number of emails that we find. So once we find all the emails, we gather it in one place, and we also run a formula for the status because what most people actually seem to miss out is that these email finders, majority of them like lead magic and find email, actually also tell us if the emails are valid to send to or they're catch all or they're invalid. Now most people just don't know about this, but when you use email verifiers, there's two steps to it. Number one, you normally verify the email. Now you can use million verify for this, or lead magic has a great tool. And they find the email and they automatically just validate that one. So this one, we found an email, it says valid catch all. We found two more emails here, they say valid. So these ones are valid and we know that for a fact. But the ones that say valid catch all, it means that we need to run it through an email validator. Now those are two very different things and these terms are used interchangeably. And if you think I'm using it wrong, feel free to correct me. But the second step of email verification or validation, whatever you want to call it, is actually verifying the catch-alls, right? Because once you verify the catch-alls, only then are you surely for sure going to know if they are valid or invalid. Now here, instead of using HTTP API, and this is for you if you're not on the Explorer plan, there is this one API actor that we use to send these HTTPI requests, and we basically put in the API key inside of this enrichment. We don't actually use the HTTP API within Clay itself. We use this one. Shout out to Rizwan, found this on LinkedIn. So this view that you can see here, I've had to configure it like this. So we absolutely make sure that everything, every single row on this view, we just export it as simple as that, and we can just put it into our sequencer. So yeah, these are all the ones that we're actually going to be sending out the messages to. Now the copy is really going to depend again on your use case. If you're a recruitment agency or you're selling outsourcing services or international staffing, whatever it is, but the fundamental point is that you use the data that you have gotten so far using AI, and you very simply just put in the variables and grab the copy. Another thing that I suggest doing is normalizing the job titles. If you are doing that, if you are extracting job titles the way I've done, yeah, so you actually run like a little prompt normalize job title, and I've used 4.1 for this, 4.1 mini. And yeah, it normalizes the job titles so we can actually mention it in the emails and it doesn't look robotic. So now I'm about to show you how you can set up Serper.dev within n8n for pagination and set that up inside of Clay. The first step would be creating an HTTP headers account inside of Clay. Head on over to settings, then connection, add connection, search up HTTP API headers, name your connection, and we're going to add two of these. So the first one will be X API key, and make sure it's in all caps. And right here will be your API key which you get from Serper.dev. So head on over to your Serper.dev account, and this is a free account I created just to show you that you get to 2,500 credits just for signing up. Head on over to API keys, whatever this is, just copy it, paste it over here, and this one is gonna be content type, and the value is going to be application slash JSON. Save, and that's about it. Now we can actually use this inside a Clay workbook to start scraping using Serper.dev and get results. So we go into the Clay table and create an enrichment, search up HTTP API, here we go. Now we're going to select the account that we just created in this one, and we're going to select post. Here we go. And now this endpoint is where we actually place the webhook that we find in the workflow that we create inside of n8n. So let's just go ahead and do that. Here I've created a new workflow, and now I'm going to import from file. And if you want access to this JSON file, then you can hit me up on LinkedIn and I'll send it to you right away. Import. This is what it looks like. We click on webhook. And once your workflow is active, you go to the production URL, quickly copy this, go into Clay, post this as endpoint, and this right here is going to be query. Now this is the query that we give serper.dev as input, which are the things that we're going to scrape. And that's about it. You don't have to change anything else really. We have everything in place, and all you're going to do now is run a few tests and make sure everything's running fine, and we're good to go. One final thing I wanted to share with you guys regarding this Clay workflow is a change I've made, which actually uses Claygen to find all the websites which the Google Maps URL doesn't automatically provide. So yeah, it works pretty great. And check it out for yourself. Copy this Clay workflow and mess around with the prompts, every single one except the find people prompt, I would suggest, because again, as I mentioned before, if you change anything, as we've noticed, everything just breaks apart. So other than that, mess around with everything else, and let me know if you found any value in this video. So we ran this for a recruitment agency in the United States that works with stone fabricators and distributors. Now, these businesses, unless they're like extremely large and have multiple locations, are kind of hard to find on LinkedIn. And more importantly, they don't actively post like job postings on LinkedIn and other job platforms. They usually have an internal recruiting team, or they just post it on their website. Majority of them, some post on Indeed or ZipRecruiter, but that's a very small portion of them. So we were actually having quite a lot of trouble finding these businesses that would potentially work with them. So campaigns weren't going as well, but about a month in, we launched this workflow, and just within a few days of launching it, we booked 8 opportunities for this particular recruitment agency. And that goes to show how powerful it is. Try it out for yourself. And if you liked what you see in this video and want such a workflow built out for you for completely free, head on over to the link in the description and book a call with us, and we would build out a workflow similar to this, or any workflow of your choice, for you that fits your use case for completely free, given that you qualify. So head on over to the link, answer a couple of questions, and yeah, you'll have your table built out for you. Or if you just have any questions, just hit me up on LinkedIn, and see you in the next one.